Hello students, so today we're going to look at the last day on 13.3, which is evaluating functions and putting all of our knowledge together into one day. So you're going to want to remember, how to do some reference angles, how to do some trig function setups, unit circle, have that green chart by you so you can convert degrees to radians, and then that special triangles, that foldable we made at the beginning of this unit, it's going to be useful today. So let's jump right in. Finding exact value of trig functions and showing our work on these. That's very important. So I want the cosine of negative 225 degrees. Well, draw myself my coordinate plane here. There we go. Negative 225. So that would be... Oh, hold on. I need to make sure that I go clockwise, not counterclockwise. There we go. Negative 90, negative 180, negative 270. Almost messed up there. So negative 225 would be about here. Drop my perpendicular down, make that reference triangle that we've been working so hard on. Now, to find my reference angle, I told you those reference angles are super important, so I need to find that. So I'm going to go 225 minus 180. And I'm going to get a 45-degree angle right here. Well, that means this other angle is a 45-degree, right? That means that's a 45, 45, 90 triangle. We know how to deal with that. So notice how I'm going to go out on my unit circle. You always go out 1 degree, or 1 for a radius. So I'm going to the left 1, right? So that's technically going to be a negative 1, kind of like when we would draw that would be what that would be for a point. And then out here, I went up 1. Now, if you remember, the hypotenuse on a 45, 45, 90 triangle was the leg times the square root of 2. So leg is 1 times the square root of 2. So my hypotenuse would just be the square root of 2, right? So then a cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent would be negative 1. And my hypotenuse would be the square root of 2. So negative 1 over the square root of 2. Well, got to rationalize that denominator, right? So I get negative square roots of 2 over 2. And then I'm done. Let's try it again. I know these are a little confusing, so bear with me. Keep trying to understand what I'm doing in the steps. There's sequential steps every time you're going to take this. So I have the secant of 300. What I would do first is I would find the cosine of 300, okay? So let's first find that. I have a 0, a 90, 180, 270. So 300 is going to be kind of close to that, right? Drop my perpendicular down. How many degrees are between 300 and 360? 60 degrees, right? So this is a 60-degree angle. That means that's a 30-degree angle, right? So I have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So now what's really awesome about that is I can kind of label these sides. So 30 degrees always had that was the one that we always wanted, right? So we're going to make that 1 degree. So we've gone out 1 degree. Now, the long leg was the short leg times the square root of 3. Now, since I'm going negative, I'm going down, it's not going to be just the square root of 3, it's going to be negative square root of 3. Bearing with me? And then the hypotenuse with the short leg times 2. So my hypotenuse is going to be a 2. So now I need to find the cosine of 300 first, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. So my adjacent of this angle right here was 1 over my hypotenuse. So this cosine would be 1 over 2. I wanted the secant, so that would be 2 over 1, or just 2. What about the cotangent of negative 8 pi over 3? So you're probably going to go, oh, look, I can look at my unit circle. But you know what? Your unit circle doesn't have negative 8 pi over 3 because that's been swept quite a few times. So this one's actually a full rotation around. So what I recommend is to figure this out in degrees. So this is, let's go x over 360 equals negative 8 pi over 3 over 2 pi. Pi's are gone. So I could go 360 times negative 8/3, and that's going to give me 960, a negative 960. So 2x equals negative 960. Divide by 2. I'm going to get x equals negative 480. Now, negative 480, that's more than 360. So what I recommend to actually find the angle you need to draw, I would add 360 on. So that's going to give me a negative 120, right? That's going to be a little easier to draw. I can find a negative 120. So 0, negative 90, negative 180, negative 270. Negative 120 is about right here. Drop my perpendicular down. So negative 120. My angle is going to be 60 degrees right here. Perfect. So I'm going downwards and left. So I know these both are going to be negative values. This is 30 degrees right here. So across the way is going to be a 1, because that's my short leg, remember? And then my long leg was the short leg times square root of 3. So that's going to be negative square root of 3. And then a 2 for my hypotenuse. Okay? So the cotangent, let's just do tangent first. How about that? So the tangent would be my opposite over my adjacent, aka square root of 3, or negative square root of 3 over negative 1, which is just the square root of 3, right? Well, cotangent, that's that flipped. So 1 over square root of 3, which, fixing the denominator, square root of 3 over 3 would be my final answer for that one. Last one. So negative 3 pi over 4. That's kind of hard to rationalize in our heads. So let's figure that out in degrees. How about, shall we? X over 360 equals negative 3 pi over 4 over 2 pi. Pi's are gone. 360 times 3/4 is 270. So I'm going to get 2x equals negative 270. Divide by 2. X equals negative 135. So, draw my thing in here. 0, negative 90, negative 180, negative 270. So negative 135 goes about right there. Drop my perpendicular. My angle. How many degrees between 135 and 180? 45, right? So I got 45 right here. I went left and down. So I'm going to have a negative 1 and a negative 1 there. Square root of 2 there. Tangent. So opposite over adjacent. So negative 1 over negative 1, which is just 1 for my answer. That's the end of this video. This is Miss Marsh, signing off.